Did you know that one of the biggest red flags after 65 is actually feeling fine? Yes, you heard that correctly. It sounds counterintuitive. Shouldn't feeling okay be a good thing? But here's the twist. Countless seniors go about their day thinking nothing is wrong precisely because they don't feel any major pain or discomfort. Then, out of nowhere, something happens, a sudden fracture from a minor slip, a fainting spell during a pleasant afternoon, or even a serious cardiovascular scare, and it leaves everyone asking, but they seemed so healthy. The reality is that fine can hide a silent decline, and in many cases, it's more dangerous than obvious symptoms. Stay with me until the end of this story, because the biggest and most surprising truth behind that fine feeling is something you can start addressing right in your own living room. The reason this issue is so urgent is that people over 65 often associate no pain with no problem. If the legs still move, if there's no throbbing headache, if daily chores seem manageable, then life must be good. Unfortunately, many slow-burning health issues don't announce themselves with a trumpet. They creep in gently. Blood pressure starts inching up, but you feel nothing. Bone density starts plummeting, but no bones have broken, yet. Your muscles gradually weaken, but you don't notice until you struggle to get out of a chair. And by then, the issue has grown much bigger than it needed to be. Imagine a 67-year-old retiree named Richard. He's not taking any medication, so he assumes all is well. He waters his plants, does a bit of light shopping, and occasionally meets friends for coffee. Then one day, he feels a strange lightheadedness that nearly makes him collapse. It passes quickly, so he chalks it up to maybe I got up too fast. Over the next few months, those spells become more frequent. When a friend finally convinces him to check things more thoroughly, he discovers he has had borderline high blood pressure for years. Left unaddressed, it's already starting to affect his cardiovascular health and energy levels. That's precisely the trap we're talking about, feeling fine while a problem simmers underneath. So why is this phenomenon so common among older adults? Because our bodies grow sneakier with age. Changes happen slower, and we adapt to them day by day without noticing. One day you can climb 2 flights of stairs, the next month, you opt for just 1. A year later, you avoid any climbing at all. Before you know it, your normal is drastically lower than it used to be. Yet, if no distinct pain surfaces, you assume everything's status quo. That slow creep can be lethal. Now, let's go deeper into why feeling fine can be one of the most dangerous signs of all, and what you can do at home to stay on top of the subtle changes your body might be hiding. First, consider subtle muscle decline, known scientifically as sarcopenia. Starting around age 30, we begin losing muscle mass bit by bit. By 65, that loss can become significant. The biggest danger? It often doesn't hurt, and you might still be able to walk around your home without difficulty. But what you don't see is that your legs tire faster, you recover from simple chores more slowly, and your strength for daily tasks, like carrying groceries or picking up something you dropped on the floor, dwindles. Over time, weaker muscles reduce your mobility, potentially causing serious falls. The fix isn't an intense gym routine, it can be as simple as practicing a gentle set of chair squats in your living room, using a stable piece of furniture for support. When you do it consistently, even if it's just a few reps a day, you're sending a powerful signal to your muscles that you won't let them slip away quietly. And your body, regardless of age, responds to that challenge. Second, watch out for hidden inflammation, a subtle process that picks up speed later in life. Inflammation often calls to mind swollen joints or something obviously painful. But chronic, low-grade inflammation can be almost symptomless. Over time, it can damage blood vessels and vital organs. You may not see it, you may not feel it, but it works behind the scenes, setting the stage for more serious conditions like heart disease. One of the best ways to keep this silent villain at bay. Look closely at your daily diet. This doesn't mean extreme changes, simply introduce more natural anti-inflammatory foods. For instance, you can add a handful of walnuts to your salad or sprinkle turmeric on your evening soup. These small shifts can calm the invisible flames that might otherwise erode your health. And no, you don't have to be a gourmet cook. A simple dish of steamed vegetables with a dab of olive oil and fresh herbs can be a huge step in the right direction. Third, let's talk about bone density. Feeling fine is easy when you haven't had a fracture. But bones can quietly weaken for years, especially in postmenopausal women and older men who think they're safe because osteoporosis is a woman's disease. The silent truth is that thinning bones don't hurt until they snap. One minor trip can suddenly turn a routine fall into a major medical emergency. The good news is you can work on your bone health daily. Weight-bearing movements, like standing on tiptoes, slowly lifting your heels and then lowering them, help your bones stay engaged. Adding a few calcium-rich foods, like almonds or sardines, can also support your skeletal system. Vitamin D from a bit of time in the sun or from simple dietary sources helps your body better utilize the calcium. Again, these changes are subtle, done right in your home or yard, but they reinforce your bones in ways that keep a silent decline from catching you off guard. Fourth, watch out for slow-creeping cardiovascular risks. High blood pressure, minor arrhythmias, or arterial stiffness often start quietly. No chest pain, no intense shortness of breath. Just tiny shifts that go unnoticed. Sometimes you feel an odd flutter in your chest but dismiss it as nerves. Other times, you might get tired a bit more easily but blame it on age. Meanwhile, your heart and vessels could be under strain. Something as simple as taking a few moments each morning to monitor your pulse or do gentle deep breathing exercises can signal subtle changes. If your heart rate used to be calm after climbing the stairs but now skyrockets, that's an internal alarm. Paying attention to these little signals, rather than ignoring them because you feel fine, can mean the difference between discovering an issue early and dealing with a scary surprise later. Fifth, remember that cognitive changes don't always come with bright warning lights. Many imagine that dementia or cognitive decline starts with dramatic memory lapses. In reality, it can be a gentle forgetting of words, a brief confusion about time or place, or a slight difficulty planning tasks. By the time these become truly noticeable, the decline may be further along. Feeling fine can mean you dismiss those small warning signs. Combat them proactively by challenging your mind at home. Try learning a new skill, whether it's a simple craft, a puzzle game, or even playing around with a new language app. You don't have to become fluent or master a brand new hobby overnight. The key is consistent mental stimulation that keeps your brain forging new connections. Now, let's dig into more detail on each of these points, because understanding the subtlety of these changes will empower you to make small, targeted efforts that can dramatically extend both the length and quality of your life. For muscle decline, many seniors assume that as long as they can get around the house, their muscles are good enough. But it's in the small daily tasks that sarcopenia strikes hardest. Maybe you need an extra minute to rise from your chair, or you catch your breath climbing a single flight of stairs. If your legs and core are losing strength gradually, that fine feeling just means you're still able to operate at a lower threshold. Add a simple habit, like rising on your toes and holding for a count of 5 while brushing your teeth. It might sound trivial, but that daily repetition strengthens your calf muscles and improves your balance. Another subtle exercise is the sit-to-stand from a sturdy chair. Perform a few reps whenever you can. As the weeks pass, you'll notice your body adjusts, your muscle control improves, and that creeping weakness can be pushed back effectively. For inflammation, chronic low-grade inflammation has been dubbed inflammaging by some experts, underlining how it silently speeds up aging processes. You might not feel any direct signs of joint pain, yet your body could be in a mild state of perpetual alarm. That's dangerous because inflammation can damage arteries, nerves, and crucial tissues over the long term. One of the simplest home-based strategies is focusing on hydration. Regular sips of plain water throughout the day help flush out toxins and reduce stress on cells. Meanwhile, cutting back on overly processed snacks, think chips or pastries, and replacing them with whole fruits or a small handful of unsalted nuts can curb the chemical triggers that drive inflammation. No doctor visits or hospital stays needed, just consistent, mindful choices in your daily routine. For bones, the numbers are sobering. Many older adults break a bone from a minor slip, and the subsequent recovery can be life-altering, or even life-threatening. If you've felt fine for years and never thought much about bone density, it's easy to assume your skeleton is stable. But bones can become porous over the decades, especially if you've never paid attention to nutrients like calcium or vitamin D. A quick daily check you can do at home is a balance test. Stand on one foot for 5 to 10 seconds, near a wall or chair for safety. If your stability is poor, it might hint that your musculoskeletal system is weakening. Then, keep in mind that your diet doesn't have to revolve around big changes. Consuming a modest portion of dairy or a small handful of calcium-enriched greens can fortify your bones over the long haul. Also, a few minutes of sunlight in the early morning can help your body boost vitamin D, bridging that gap between "I haven't broken anything yet" and real bone health. For cardiovascular subtlety, ever notice how you breathe after a quick walk to the mailbox? If you used to be able to retrieve the mail with no effort but now feel slightly winded, it's tempting to blame just getting older. But sometimes that's your heart quietly signaling that something's changed. Routine, easy checks, like gently taking your pulse in the morning, could show an elevated heart rate. Or maybe that morning walk you enjoy now leaves you mildly lightheaded. Rather than ignoring these signs, practice slow controlled breathing as a gauge. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4, then exhale for 4. If you sense unusual difficulty, that might be worth exploring more deeply. Again, this doesn't mean you're rushing off to a clinic. It means you're becoming an expert observer of your own body, staying on top of those small shifts that feeling fine can obscure. For cognitive function, you might think your memory is sharp because you still remember birthdays and phone numbers. But are you challenging yourself beyond the comfortable routine? A subtle approach you can try at home is a simple daily puzzle or quick mental exercise. For example, learn 3 new words in a foreign language or try to recite the alphabet backward in your mind while preparing your morning tea. Another idea is to change the route of your daily walk or rearrange small items on your shelves, anything that forces your brain to adapt. It seems playful on the surface, but behind the scenes, you're nudging your brain's neural pathways to stay flexible and resilient. Now, let's move toward the most critical point. Why is feeling fine after 65 potentially one of the most perilous signs of all? Because it lulls you into a false sense of security. It tells you no immediate action is needed. And that's precisely how many older individuals find themselves blindsided by advanced conditions that, had they been addressed sooner, would have been far simpler to manage. The scariest part? By the time obvious symptoms appear, the problem often has a head start. Picture your body as a house. If there's a small leak in the roof, you might not see any water damage right away. You go about your life ignoring it, telling yourself the roof is fine. But that water seeps in every day, rotting wood, inviting mold, weakening the structure. Months later, when the ceiling suddenly collapses, everyone is shocked. But the warning signs were there, just hidden. This is how silent health issues function in those golden years. The quiet cracks form, but you only see them when it's potentially too late. What can you do instead? First, embrace the concept of microchecks. Spend just a couple of minutes every morning tuning into your body. How do your legs feel going up those first few steps? Does your heart flutter when you switch from sitting to standing? Are you more forgetful about your daily to-do list than you were last month? Is your mouth dry more often, or do your muscles feel stiff for longer after you get up? Each clue is small, but over time, these microchecks help you spot trends. If something new or concerning surfaces, you can adjust your daily routine, maybe more hydration, maybe a few more minutes of stretching, maybe a gentler approach to physical chores. Second, make little changes routine. Consistency is the unsung hero of aging well. Doing 5 toe raises a day might feel insignificant at first, but 150 toe raises a month can have a real impact on your leg strength, balance, and bone loading. The same goes for mindful eating. Replacing that habitual sugary snack with a piece of fresh fruit just a few times a week might seem like no big deal. Yet, those changes reduce hidden inflammation and keep your bloodstream more stable over the long haul. Third, recognize that feeling fine is an opportunity to be proactive, not an excuse to stay put. Use this stable period to build up your defenses. It's much easier to maintain health than to reclaim it after a crisis. This is a time to refine your daily habits, test new ways of staying active, and keep your mind engaged. You don't need advanced workout gadgets or complicated meal plans. If you enjoy gardening, let that be your daily movement. If you adore simple soups, enrich them with a handful of leafy greens. These are small but meaningful ways to remain vigilant. And here's the culminating truth: the worst thing you can do is wait for pain or problems to show up, because by then the gap between fine and falling apart can be shockingly narrow. No dramatic symptoms doesn't always mean no trouble. It could mean that your body is issuing subtle distress signals you're not trained to hear. But once you train yourself to listen carefully, to pay attention to the slightest shift, you'll find that many potential health crises can be averted or at least mitigated significantly. Remember that story of Richard, who had borderline high blood pressure for years without knowing it. If he had done quick morning check-ins, observing that climbing stairs felt different or noticing slight dizziness, he might have realized something was off sooner. The same goes for Mary, who thought her bones were perfectly fine until she broke her wrist from a gentle bump against the doorframe. She later learned her bone density had been dropping steadily for a decade. These individuals weren't being careless, they simply took the absence of pain as proof of good health. So, if you're over 65 and you catch yourself thinking, "I'm okay. I feel fine," use that as a prompt. Stop and ask, what small checks can I do today? Have my habits shifted in a way that might be hiding something bigger? The best part is, all these checks and solutions can be done at home, in your own time, without making radical changes to your lifestyle. It's about subtle awareness and steady habits, not about appending everything you enjoy. The final takeaway, fine should never be the end of the conversation, it should be the beginning. Feeling all right at 65 or 75 isn't a reason to ignore your health, it's your chance to protect it fiercely before a hidden problem becomes a full-blown crisis. You have more power than you realize to steer your future, simply by staying alert and active on a daily basis. Each small action you take, whether it's a gentle exercise, a mindful food choice, or a simple mental puzzle, fortifies your foundation against the hidden leaks of time. Now, here's my question for you, which subtle sign have you been overlooking? Is there a small, nagging clue in your daily routine that you've been brushing aside because you still feel fine? I invite you to share your experience in the comments. Sometimes, just admitting those small changes we've been ignoring can be the spark that pushes us to act. And if you want more tips on uncovering hidden health pitfalls, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. It shows me you're committed to staying proactive, and it helps more people discover life-changing insights. No matter where you are in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, remember this, feeling fine is a gift, but it's also a nudge. Use it to look deeper, make tiny but meaningful improvements, and secure the longevity and vitality you deserve, starting right now, right where you are. You have the power to stay ahead of silent problems. Let's keep building a future where growing older doesn't mean giving up, but stepping up to live fully, with eyes wide open and hearts set on thriving. And that, my friends, is the real path to feeling not just fine, but truly alive.